Against all the odds, in 2023, Cupra beats both Volkswagen and Skoda to market with an all-electric hatch. And this is it, the Cupra Born. I think it's time we check it out. So what is a Cupra Born, you may ask? And that's a very good question, because it is, in fact, a Volkswagen ID.3 in drag. But Cupra's done surprisingly quite a lot to what is the Volkswagen Empire's crown jewels. So note the new slipperier frontal styling, which is kind of, a little bit more interesting than a snub-nosed ID.3. There's also a new wheel design, rear end treatment, and a better high quality interior. I mean, this was an opportunity for the Spanish high performance brand to sort of fix some of the ID.3's flaws. So like the ID.3, the Born is available in 3 different battery packs. It's available the 45 kilowatt, a 58 kilowatt and a 77 kilowatt hour battery pack. Now the biggest battery provides for a range of up to 550 kilometers. Now this version here, this version is the most powerful 170 kilowatt version, but there's also one with 110 and 150 kilowatts. Now this one is pretty brisk. We've just driven it along some country roads, and it accelerates from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in around 6.6 seconds, although top speed is limited to 160 kilometers per hour. But that's kind of not relevant to Motor Australia. Now, the big problem with the ID.3 and the big problem with the Born is things like packaging is always a bit difficult, because like the ID.3, it packages its electric motor in the rear, which means there's quite a small boot. It's only around 385 litres. It's interesting because we drove the Renault Megane earlier this year, and that sort of packages its electric motor in the front because of boot space. Despite the smaller boot, inside, I'll quickly show you the back of here, there's actually space, Cupra says, equivalent to a mid-sized vehicle in a sort of segment above. But there is quite a high floor, so it doesn't quite feel it. It's also worth checking out the interior while you're here, because you can see they're generally filled with some sort of higher grade materials, and like the Volkswagen ID.3, it carries over the small 5.3 inch instrument cluster ahead of the driver, and there's also the large 12 inch infotainment system, which is kind of both a blessing and a curse, because it can be really irritating to do things like earlier we were driving through town. You've got Google Maps on, and to go into adjusted temperature, it just takes too long, it's too complicated, it needs to be simplified. Other really good things about the Cupra Born is it has its own chassis tune. I mean, they haven't picked up the Volkswagen settings, which is a really good thing, because again, on the sort of Alpine style roads we were driving earlier, it's really quite entertaining and engaging, and yeah, it hides its weight quite well. This is not a light car. Now, we have driven this car before on carsales.com.au, and I insist, I demand you check our review out, but we're going to probably find out how much this is going to be priced very shortly, so stay tuned. But we think it's going to weigh in at around $65,000. Now, when it arrives in Australia in Q1 of 2023, Cupra says it's not going to sell these cars to a regular Volkswagen dealer. It's going to have its own standalone dealership. You can also order one online. But yeah, let us know what you think. Would you have one of these over a Volkswagen ID.3, which will probably rock up towards the end of 2023? I think it's a pretty stylish thing. I can imagine many people would buy it alone just because it looks cool.